What's up guys, Sean Nalewanyj, SeanNal.com, and I wanted to make a video today addressing a really common mistake that a lot of lifters make. It's more common in beginners, but even intermediate lifters do it too. And that mistake is putting just way too much emphasis on chest training and thinking that building bigger pecs is way more important than it actually is. When it comes to upper body training, horizontal presses like the basic barbell bench press or the dumbbell press, these are usually treated as sort of the most valued default exercises in most people's lifting routines. And if you just take a look around any standard commercial gym, it's pretty easy to see that. People just think that building a big chest is like the key to an impressive upper body. And obviously every muscle group plays an important role in bringing your whole physique together, and a well-developed chest is part of that. And it is one of the larger muscle groups on the body, but the reality is that it actually isn't that big of a muscle, and it doesn't play as big of a role as most people think in giving you that bigger, more muscular overall appearance. I talked about this in a video a while back, but in terms of really giving you that stronger, more powerful upper body look, your upper back and shoulders are probably going to contribute more to that than your pecs will, especially when you're wearing a shirt. The pecs just kind of sit on the front of your body, and so they will make you look thicker from the side view. And obviously having well-defined pecs is good when you have your shirt off, but from the front, having good traps and good round shoulders is really going to give you that wider, more pronounced look that you're probably going for. So yeah, obviously train your chest fully as part of a well-rounded program. Well-developed pecs look good, and they're still an important part of an aesthetic physique. But going into the gym and just doing set after set after set of bench presses and dumbbell presses and cable crossovers and machine movements for the chest, doing all of that just for this one area is ultimately overkill. And if you're doing that at the expense of fully training your back, then you're making a legitimate training mistake that's actually going to detract from your physique. And that's the other point that I wanted to make here. Is that it's not really accurate to categorize your body by talking about your chest and then your back as if they're somehow equal. Your chest is basically just one muscle. It's the pec major. There is the pec minor underneath, but it's a lot smaller. And for bodybuilding purposes, you don't really need to worry about it. But your back, on the other hand, is not one muscle group. You have your lats, which are a very large muscle that originate all the way down toward your lower back and attach all the way up on your humerus. You have the traps, which contain quite a bit of mass. There's the spinal erectors, which are two big columns of muscle that run all the way up and down your back. And then there's also some smaller muscles as well, like the rhomboids and the teres groups. So to talk about the chest and back as if they go hand in hand, and to say, you know, I do 10 sets for chest and I do 10 sets for back, that's really not a balanced way of looking at things, and it's not a balanced way of training either. Your upper back alone basically matches your chest in terms of mass and in terms of overall importance without even taking your lats and your other back muscles into account. I mean, you don't call, you know, this whole area your front and lump your pecs and your abs together. So to think of this as being only your back and doing an equal amount of work for your pecs versus your entire back, that really doesn't make sense. When you strip it all down to the basics, in theory, to hit your chest, all you really need is an exercise that uses horizontal adduction of your humerus, whether it's a barbell press or a dumbbell press or even a fly, because the movement of the humerus is basically the same in either one of those, and that's the main function of the pecs, which is to bring your upper arm across the front of your body. But to hit all of the muscles of the back, you'd want to do a vertical pulling movement of some kind to target the lats, so a pull up or a pull down. You're going to want a horizontal pulling movement, which will also hit the lats, but the mid-back muscles as well. So that's going to be some type of row, you know, whether it's a dumbbell row or a barbell row or some kind of machine row. And then you're going to want to do a shrugging movement as well to hit your traps. And then depending on how the rest of your program is laid out, you could also optionally do a deadlift or a rack pull or a weighted hyperextension as a way to hit your spinal erectors. And the deadlift or the rack pull will obviously train your upper back as well. But main point being, there's a lot more going on in the back, and you need quite a few more individual movement patterns in order to fully optimize your gains there. And of course, you also have to take the issue of injury prevention into account as well, because if you're consistently placing more emphasis on your upper body pushing movements as opposed to upper body pulling movements, then over time you're going to develop imbalances that can easily lead to shoulder injury. So it's not just a matter of aesthetics here, but it's also a matter of maintaining just overall balanced functionality. But bottom line here, don't be the typical bench press warrior in the gym. Your pecs are still an important muscle group, obviously, but they don't need a ton of different exercises or a lot of volume in order to be fully stimulated, because they're not actually that huge of a muscle group, and their basic function is pretty straightforward. And because also there's no reason to put them up on a pedestal as being this super important muscle group, since the reality is that other muscle groups like your shoulders and your back will probably contribute more to your overall upper body appearance. Now, it's hard to give exact exercise and volume recommendations because it really depends on the individual. It depends where you are in your training and what sort of program you're on. But 2 to 3 chest exercises for the week will usually be plenty. You could do more, but I think it just gets redundant beyond that point. And you really don't need a huge variety because, again, your pecs aren't that big of a muscle and their function is pretty straightforward. So just pick a couple of basic movements, include both a pressing exercise and a fly exercise into the mix. And I would say to make sure to do at least one of those exercises at either a flat or a decline angle to hit the middle and the lower fibers of the pecs. And then another exercise at an incline angle to hit the upper fibers. So for example, you could do a flat press and an incline fly, or an incline press and a decline fly. And always do your pressing movements first when your strength is at its maximum, and then do your fly movements after. And then in terms of total sets for the week, depending on how your training program is set up and what your intensity level is like, as well as how your recovery ability is, it could be as few as about 8 total sets. It can be even less than that depending on the style of program you're on. So if you're on a higher intensity, lower volume style of training, then you could do less than that. But for most average trainees, let's say about 8 sets up to maybe 15 or so sets for the week at the most. These are just ballpark figures, but that would be about right. And you most definitely don't need to be going into the gym and doing, 4 sets of 4 different chest exercises 2 or 3 times a week like a lot of people do. That's just totally unnecessary. So I hope this video was useful, guys. If you do want to grab a complete step-by-step plan that shows you exactly how to maximize your gains using a well-rounded sequence of lifts that hits all the major muscles in a balanced way for optimal total body development, then you can check out my body transformation blueprint by clicking here or by visiting bodytransformationtruth.com. The link is in the description. That's going to lay everything out for you step by step. Workouts, meal plans, supplement guides, and one-on-one coaching. Make sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. The official website is over at SeanNal.com, and you can follow me on social media here if you aren't already. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.